Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my podcast, Flowering into 5D. Today, I have my friend Michelle, and I am so excited to chat with her about all kinds of fun stuff. But I'm just going to give you a quick little overview, a little bio on Michelle. So, she is a somatic and Reiki healer. She is incredibly skilled, I can say firsthand experience, about bringing us people back into our bodies following trauma, burnout, and overwhelm, and just allowing us to thrive again. So, Michelle, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. How are you today?
Thanks for having me, Sam.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. So, we both love tarot, first of all. So, let's just
We
dive right
do.
into that. We love fun things like tarot and human design. So, tell me more about how did you discover tarot? How long have you been into it? Tell me more.
Oh, yeah. This is a good start for any pessimists listening, actually. I wanted to go for my first reading when I was about 20 years old, and I made a phone call from a number that I Googled, the first kind of local reader that came up. So this is someone about 5 miles away from where I lived. And I was actually calling from my mum's address from a landline. This is how long ago this was. And the reader picked up and she said, "Hi, Michelle."
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness. Ooh,
yeah.
okay.
Goosebumps, goosebumps. So I was like, oh my God, who's this woman? I need to go because I've called off somebody else's landline. She knows my name. She's the real deal. So I was in kind of pre-reading. I was like,
Mm,
this is for me. Um, and yeah, that was my first experience. That was almost 20 years ago. I find
wow.
myself going for clarity, maybe
Hmm.
when I'm at a natural crossroads and something's kind of stirring within me that maybe changes on the horizon. And I think this might be something that I do because I'm not a religious woman. I'm like,
Mm.
I need a little bit more from the universe. So yeah, it's been a bit of a treat to go and see somebody with some tools in the past. So a tarot reading something I'll do a couple of times a year.
Amazing. And do you have like a
Yeah.
go-to person that you go to ever like that you've been going to for years, or do you just try new people, or tell me more?
Oh, yeah, so there's a tarot reader I love. Um I see a numerologist and I see an astrologer.
Love
So
that.
there's several readings that I go for, depending on maybe what the inquiry is. Yeah. How about yourself,
Amazing.
Sam?
You know what? I've actually never received a professional tarot reading.
Whoa.
Yeah, I don't even know. I want to say what really awakened my love of tarot was after I had my daughter and I was in like this postpartum haze of like who am I and like what am I? I know I'm a mom, but what else, you know? Um and yeah, the struggle was really real for me, especially since I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. I really struggled to have my own identity. So coming from this place where I thought I had everything figured out, after I left Canada and I went traveling, I was like, I finally know who I am. Oh, phew, thank goodness. And then it was like, and here's your daughter, and just kidding, factory reset. You have no idea who you are.
Yeah, wow. Big
So,
shift.
yeah, so that for me, honestly, it just kind of awakened something. I was already spiritual, I was doing yoga and everything, like that. But I think having a daughter kind of like awakened this like witchy side of me where I just really loved like the divination and like the spell casting and stuff like that. So yeah, that's my
Yeah.
little history with tarot.
Oh, it's amazing, isn't it? I That moment where you describe like what's my identity now? I think those are those kind of activating moments that make us want to reach out for some answers, wherever they may come from.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. And for me, I I grew up, I wouldn't say I grew up fairly like religious. I went to a Catholic school, but my family was modern or is modern Mennonite, um, which I don't know, it never really sat well with me. It wasn't like, oh, it's awful, but it just never really resonated so much with me. And then um, to be honest with you, I was really quite indoctrinated by media and music and stuff. So I was like, that stuff
Yeah.
is like, ugh, like religion is garbage and dee. And so I don't know why I'm going off on this tangent right now, but um, yeah, it's just it feels good to be receiving answers that aren't necessarily tied to the religious indoctrination of like there is only one, and like I just I love spirituality because it's so open and so freeing, and it's not in this box of like punishment or reward.
Yes. Yes. There's a
Yeah.
feeling, I think, that just seeds get scattered in a reading or a meditation. There's some kind of awakening, and you then take those seeds and respond to what feels most relevant.
Yes.
Um, that's a powerful part for me, is that you're able to respond, and I think quite naturally you remember those golden nuggets that maybe you wanted to hear. So that's an insight to your real desires. And you might never think about some words again because they just fall off you.
Hmm.
Um, and that's a powerful teaching as well.
Definitely, definitely. And I think it's so powerful to just receive that information. Like you said, some of it you're going to accept and some of it's just not really going to resonate right now, or maybe it'll resonate in 10 years and you'll just be like, oh my gosh, I just had this like total, come to moment. And just trusting that it's going to come when it's going to come, like that.
Yes.
When it's supposed to, it will. And when it lands, or it won't land, I feel like in, I don't want to say the Western world, because I think it's more than the Western world, but not everybody, many people, I will say, are really holding on to this, like, I need to control things. I need to know. I need to be in the know. I need to make sure I am doing everything. And I think it's so freeing and so, mm, I'll say, yeah, freeing is the right word, to just accept that the information or whatever is going to come to you when it's supposed to come to you, and just be okay with that.
Yeah. It's a practice, isn't it? Letting go and
Definitely.
allowing. It's a
Definitely.
practice.
So I
Yeah.
want to just talk about a little bit about we both have some history working with trauma and our separate modalities. And I know that we both didn't really turn towards Western medicine as some people would. Um, Me personally, with my borderline personality disorder, and you with your PTSD. Do you want to talk a little bit about that for people who may resonate with this information?
Yeah, I guess I didn't turn to Western in medicine, as in I never had a formal diagnosis of having PTSD.
Mm,
Um, but I had a traumatic birth when I had my daughter, who's healthy and beautiful. She's 6.5 now and thriving. But for me, it was an extremely neglectful and traumatic time. Um, and I understand now that trauma can happen from not having enough of
mm,
something.
mhm,
It's not just the impact of overwhelm of experience, it can also be this loneliness of not being held in a moment where you needed human support, human kindness. Um, yeah, it was tough. It was tough because I was on this journey as a new mum in a body that was so hyper vigilant, it didn't feel safe.
mm,
So sleep wasn't an option for me, not really, not deep rest. Um, And my days with my beautiful daughter were gorgeous, but time alone with my own headspace was cruel.
Mm,
Yeah, it was challenging. And I was recommended talk therapy, group therapies for my kind of heightened anxiety at the time. And it's not what I needed.
mm,
I didn't need to be retelling my story. I actually needed it integrated into my body. I
mhm,
needed it to land. I needed my body to understand that it had survived
mhm,
because it got stuck somewhere in the trauma. And um, so I went off piste. I had a breathwork coach, I had a somatic embodiment coach, and I sought out EMDR therapy, which is the go to therapy for veterans, PTSD survivors. And it was the three modalities combined that brought me back into my body.
mm,
So I feel really fortunate to have gone through that today because EMDR has only been available since the 90s. And even then, it was for people in combat.
mm,
And now they know that, 90% of us experience some form of trauma, is the statistic. And the secondary trauma as well. What does your partner go through when you're having this awful time in hospital and so on? So there's a ripple effect. And the EMDR therapy and the somatic embodiment brought me home.
mm. I love that.
Yeah, it did. It did. And I'm eternally grateful because I feel safe and at home in my body, and that allows me to sleep and thrive and be present. And yeah, I'm not in this frightened state that I was in for a couple of years until I sought out the right support.
I love that. And when I had my session with you, I could really feel that because you held space in such a way that was so comfortable. Like it just, I could feel how comfortable you were with yourself, and therefore I could be comfortable too. And I really feel like the way that you've combined those three modalities is extremely powerful. And it's just, yeah, like it honestly, you changed my life with our session. It really went deep and so quickly, and I really truly believe it's because of the work that you've done on yourself that therefore you can hold space for others in such a powerful way. So I just wanted to say thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. It was
Yeah.
we some magic happened that day.
Agreed. I
Yeah.
have to say, after our session, I like went outside and I was dancing. And usually I don't listen to like popular music or like music from my youth because I recognize now that it's so like not triggering in a bad way, but it just kind of brings me back to a place that I don't feel like myself. But I put on
Yeah.
some Backstreet Boys and I was like singing at the top of my lungs and just having like the best time. And yeah, it was a really powerful release for sure. It
Yeah.
was amazing.
How incredible. Yeah, and music is such a release, isn't it? It brings such joy when we're in a space to appreciate it and move our bodies and feel free or feel safe enough to embody that freedom. Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely.
Tell me a little bit more about your story and your diagnosis and how that played out for you.
Yeah. So I will just say also that we have about 3.5 minutes left. So I will wrap it up and I'll tell you quick, and we'll have to do a part two because I don't know what happened here. But we must have been just having a good time. So
Yeah.
let's see. I was diagnosed in my early 20s. I had had a basically a nervous breakdown, and the short version of that is that I started a job that I was not doing well at, and I couldn't understand why. And I was just getting very frustrated because I'm the type that I like to succeed, and I will succeed if I put my mind to
Mm.
it. And I was kind of getting threats to be fired for not doing my job properly, but I couldn't get why. I mean, the person that trained
Yeah.
me maybe didn't do it well, but anyways, I don't need to get into semantics here. So I had a nervous breakdown. I went to the hospital and they asked me, well, are you suicidal? And I said, no, I'm not. I just can't handle whatever this is. And they're like, well, we can't admit you. So we'll just, take you for therapy. And I got my diagnosis after I just blah blahed my whole story, which I'm pretty good
Mm.
at because I feel like I've been to a lot of different talk therapies throughout my life. And got the diagnosis. And then they tried to give me some more talk therapy and suggested medication. I was just like, you know what? Like, I was put on antidepressants when I was like 12. Like, I really don't need any more drugs in my
Yeah.
life. Um, and then they suggested that I quit or no, they didn't. They suggested that I go to therapy, a group therapy, 5 days a week when I had to work. I was like,
Wow.
I have a job. I
Impossible.
was like, how am I expecting to get better with a job? Like, are you suggesting I need
Yeah.
to just quit my job and go in disability? Like, that doesn't work that way, government official doctor. Because, in Canada, it's a government healthcare. So, anyways, long story short, that was the diagnosis. And then I felt good with the label, but I didn't really act on it a lot. I got maybe a few books, read it through, became more aware over the years. And yeah, now I found out that my sister was actually diagnosed with borderline personality as well. And usually it comes from your mom. Like, it's not just genetic,
Okay.
but it's also like learned, like nature and nurture. It can come from both ways.
Yes.
So, yeah, it definitely came from my mom because, I recognize that in her. And yeah, I've just been moving through it and going to a more spiritual approach and a more holistic approach. And I don't want to say I'm cured because nothing is 100% all the time, but I definitely feel like I'm in a much, much, much better space than I've ever been. So, on that
Yeah.
note, I'm so sorry to be like, okay, bye. But let me just tell people listening, if you want to learn more about Michelle or work with her, you can find her on Instagram at soul_feeling, soul_healing, soul feeling, soul healing. We'll definitely have to come back for a part two because I'm
Yeah.
so sorry that we got cut off on this one, but we will come back for a part two. And